Hi everyone, it's Jackie Green. My feastal name is Kondoch. I belong to the Haisla territory. I'm Tsimshian Kitsalas on my mom's side, and I'm Hanaksila Kimano on my father's side. I've been a visitor here on Lakwanga and Esquimalt Wasanich territory since '95. I've been a faculty member at the School of Social Work since 2000. I'm currently the director of the school, which I started in 2013. So the purpose of this video is to offer support to Indigenous students applying to the program. One of the challenges we find as Indigenous Circle is a lot of students are interested in Indigenous social work, but we also recognize that a lot of the work that we do in our communities, a lot of the cultural work that we're a part of, a lot of the responsibilities that we have is a part of what Indigenous social work is, and so we want to encourage you to include that in your application. We see that in the application package there are sections there that ask for volunteer or unwaged, and then it asks you to talk about your organization, but we also see that also creates a barrier because it doesn't include community work or cultural work. So I want to talk a little bit about that today and offer you some guidance in submitting your application. There are two processes in place, and the first one is that you have to apply to the University of Victoria to the undergraduate program. The second step is for you to apply to the School of Social Work. These are two separate application processes. The application to the University of Victoria, we are recommending that you do this 1 month prior to the application, maybe 2 weeks later or a month later that you would start working on your application to the School of Social Work. The application packages are available on our social work website December 1st, and the deadline is January 31st. We are encouraging you to have your application package completed by January 15th, so it'll give you at least 2 weeks to go over, do your checklist. I want to point out there is detailed information on our website, step-by-step instructions of what is important for you to complete in the application. On this one, it's just basically your information. How are we going to contact you? We also ask that you complete 200 A and B, Social Work 200 A and B. If you haven't completed it, but by the time of the application, you can do 200 A and B in January or in May if you're going to start in September. But you need to indicate that on there because we'll consider that in your application. We ask you to, in one section, talk about your paid employment, your waged experience. So any paid positions that you held. You might have had some really part-time jobs. You might have had some casual on-call work. It shows us that you can work collectively as a team. Sometimes you'll have angry customers in that field that it is relevant because it does illustrate relationship and how you communicate with other people, and it involves skills of how to work collectively and diffuse issues with the public or with your colleagues. The second section is unwaged experience. So we have on our form that includes practicum, volunteer, community, or family responsibilities. We also have on here organizations and positions. So please don't let that throw you off because what we want to see here is your community work. So if you're very active in your community, whether that's in ceremony, whether that's in any other cultural event, if it's driving a bus for elders, if you're volunteering at the school, driving a bus or bringing kids to school, there's a lot of cultural and ceremonial things that we're a part of. You might be a part of a group where we're learning to basket weave or we're learning the language. All of that is relevant. So you could also indicate that on this section that it's not actually volunteer or on wage, but it's actually part of who you are as a human being. So the additional consideration form is a policy that has been put in place by our school that recognizes our school's commitment to equity, to social justice, and the emphasis on diversity in our school. This is also a policy that is upheld by the Canadian Association of Schools of Social Work, and I would go further to say that our University of Victoria has a policy in place to consider and recognize equity within our student body and also within our staff and faculty on campus here. So on this form, we're asking you to self-identify. And when we're looking at Indigenous people, this includes how Indigenous people, First Nations people, Métis people, Inuit people, or however it is that you choose to identify. We ask that you, if you are interested, to fill this form out and include it in your application package. By filling this form out and including in your application package, you will be ensured that an Indigenous scholar will be reviewing your package. We also wanted to say that by filling this form out doesn't necessarily mean that we will put you in the Indigenous specialization. You can fill the form out and study in the general BSW program, or you can choose to be a student within the Indigenous specialization or the Indigenous Child Welfare specialization. When we say Indigenous, we mean status, non-status, First Nations, Indigenous, Métis, Inuit, all forms of identity. We don't have a government policy on identity. We as a school have decided that our specialization is open to all people who identify as Indigenous, regardless of what your history is. But that you come to our school with an open heart and mind to study and learn Indigenous ways of knowing and being. I would like to point out that our school is very competitive. It's very challenging these days now to get into our school. We do have a high percentage of students from across Canada who apply to our program. We're up to around almost 550 applicants per year. We ask you to consider, as a part of your experience, to think about your community ceremonial, your volunteer, your family responsibilities, and your community work. And what we encourage is that you really examine what our website says about our School of Social Work mission statement. To capture all of that, the application process, the deadline is January 31st. The point of contact for your application will be identified on our website. So go to our website and there will be a person's name there who you can contact if you have any questions. So good luck in your application process.